So let's jump into this meeting and talk about what's in front of us now. The markets are pretty weak. And like I mentioned in the trading room, it's a combination of things. I think any one of these things, and we're not lower, but a combinations of the market starting a few weeks ago being weak with global interest rates going up. You got Asia that just can't seem to get out of its own way. It had a big rally 2 days ago. They took it all back and then some in their session yesterday. You've got midterm elections coming up here in the States where the Democrats, the minority party, might take majority in the House, which could stalemate the government and create just uncertainty, which markets don't like. That election is in 2 weeks from today. We'll talk more about that 2 weeks from today. The pending trade wars that have continued to go on, especially U.S. and China, that's uncertainty. Italy and their debt situation. So I think anyone, and then this murder mystery out of Saudi Arabia. If you're watching this video in the future, some of these things might not be relevant, but it's important to know that any one of these things may or may not have caused this weakness. But when you start to stack them, the box falls on you, and now you got to rearrange it. So you want to think of today like one day last week or 2 weeks ago. It's a reprice day. Like the lower you go, the lower you go. And at some point, yeah, you do bounce, and then you start to find value within a kind of higher time frame range, and then move from there. But like I say to people, and I got to reiterate it, is the price of poker goes up. The minimum bets are higher. Like in Las Vegas, on the weekends, it costs more to play blackjack than it does on a Tuesday. So when there's volatility in the markets, they're going to be more expensive to trade. Higher reward, but higher risk, okay? So the more you bet, the more you make. And in volatile markets like we have, every time you click the mouse, your risk is going to be higher than a slow day because price is moving a lot more, no matter what market you're trading. So you have to understand that when you come in, you kind of strap yourself in, take off your hat so it doesn't blow off, and not be on that roller coaster too long. You're going to get sick. All right. What's good about volatile markets is if you don't get a winner and you can get out, there's opportunities to get back in. You don't have to be married to any one trade. Remember the saying that if a career is supposed to be made up of thousands and thousands and thousands of trades, then why would any one of them be that important? Remember me saying that in the past? And that's kind of the theme I wanted to talk about coming into today, even if it wasn't going to be volatile, but it's even more relevant that it has been or got more volatile today. And that is the aspect, the notion of one trade. So let's go to a whiteboard. Let me change my pen color. The notion of one trade. Like you could, and I'm going to say this in a way you can understand it, because one trade could make your day, could make your week, could make your month, could make your quarter. But if you're trying to have that one trade make all those, you're going to get clobbered. It's going to be too important. When you look back at it at a trade, you say, hey, that trade, because I was in a position to catch it, made my week. Maybe it's a headline you caught. Maybe it was just a great whatever. But you weren't trying to press. You weren't long right now hoping to hear a headline that China and the US have reached a trade deal. Right? You're not forcing that one trade to make your week. You react to it. So like I was saying earlier, that there's the school of thought of people who think too much, and then people who all they do is react too much, right? And so I want to separate that out for you guys to understand that if you're sitting in this meeting and you're not trading, and I know the market's moving, so that's why I don't want to keep this meeting going on too long. But if you're in this meeting and you're in kind of a classroom setting, or you're watching some other videos in the trading room or in the edge course, then you're thinking, right? You're researching, you're thinking, you're reviewing your trades, you're thinking. But at some point, once the game starts, you got to get into the reaction mode where you're not thinking. So I coach my kids baseball, and I have for like 8 or 9 seasons. The recent one is 7 and 8 year old kids. And I tell them, Don't think, just throw the ball. Just react. It's harder for them to grasp it. Once they start to grasp it, though, you think during practice, you think when the coach is telling you how to do different things, but you react when the ball's hit to you, throw it to first. When there's first and second, I tell my third baseman, comes to you, Johnny, just step on the base, in hopes that he just reacts. He's thinking when I tell him it, and he just reacts if it happens, right? Know what you're going to do before the ball comes to you. So with trading, it's not really that different. Take yourself back to those days of, if I just would react diligently, all right, I'm in a much better place. When I think, I get killed. Once I think, I already hit the guy in front of me, right? The analogy of driving, guy hits his brakes in front of you. If you're a great driver, you're aware nobody's on your right, you could scoot over to that lane because you know you checked your mirrors because you're paying attention. If you're not a good driver, but you are paying attention, you hit the brake pedal. You don't have to think about where the hell the brake pedal is. If you're putting on your makeup, and I know some of you guys in here, it's just not a girl thing. Some of you guys do the same. Or you're on texting, you're in the guy's back seat. If you got to think, what should I do? Check my mirrors. Where's the brake pedal? You're in the guy's back seat. So you got to diligently react to what you've already learned and thought about without trying to make this important, this being the one trade. If a career, again, is made up of thousands of trades, why would anyone be in that important? And it goes back to this word, stupid. Trades are stupid, all right? I don't care if you got the best setup strategy in the world, your trade is stupid. Think about that. If you think that it's stupid, you have no problem getting out of it, either for a winner or a loser. But if it's really important and it's this great idea and great trade, you fall in love with it, it's tougher to let it go. Trades are not people. And some people you should let go. Some people are stupid too, by the way. But that's another webinar that we'll do. But all kidding aside, you fall in love with people, not trades. If you're falling in love with a trade and it becomes important to you, then you're not going to get out of it when it's a loser. And that's what kills you. And what happens is, and follow me with this one, the reason why you hold on to losers is because once in a while, you're ready to get out of a winning trade and you don't, and it becomes a great winning trade. And you're like, see, sometimes when I hold it, it becomes a great trade. Well, then be consistent. But know where you know that this one trade concept could blow your count out. You know, when I talk about one trade making your week or your month, that's on the green side. Don't ever let one trade lose your week or lose your month, because then you'll never, ever get consistent. You'll never be able to say you could consistently pull money out of the market. If one trade is taking away several, one losing trade is taking away several, say it again, one losing trade takes away several winning trades, you'll never get on firm ground. You're just getting lucky with a lot of your winning trades. There's something you're missing to cut that loser before it becomes a trade that takes away your entire green week or month. One trade. One trade that you hang in there when the markets are slower, a lot of times this industry allows you to get away with that bad habit. But when it comes to an increase in spike in volatility like we're in the last few weeks, and again today, if you're watching this in the future, it's October 23rd, 2018. Pretty volatile day, wide range, big volume, big moves, 10-point moves since we've come on to start this meeting. If you're holding on to trades and not good at getting out of them, you're going to let winners turn into scratches and scratches turn into big losers because the market's moving fast. And because you're doing this, you're thinking too much and not reacting. And the consistency has nothing, you're not implementing any semblance of consistency. And I wanted, because we've been in a period of volatility over the weekend, I thought of what today's meeting was going to be about. And it even became more relevant with the volatility we had on top of the volatility we've been having. This topic became more relevant because of that. is, and don't tell me you don't do it, because everybody does it once in a while. Hopefully nobody has a habit of doing this, but everybody either does it or wants to do it. And that is, let me erase this. And that is, you buy it here and the market goes against you and you buy it again, and maybe you buy it again. You add to a loser. You don't have to have a problem with adding to a loser to have it bite you in the ass. If you have a problem with adding to a loser, you'll never make money and be consistent at doing this. Go become a plumber if you have a problem at adding to a loser. But all you have to do it is a few times here and there, especially on a day like today, and you get into that one trade phenomenon that works against you. Because this is all, even though this is a buy and this a buy, this a buy, this whole example is one trade. It was a long trade, and it was not a long trade just as far as time, but effort and anxiety. And if you're lucky when you add to losers, you just break even and maybe don't lose that much money. That's a winner. Once in a while, you turn a nice loser with this minus side into a scratch or maybe a winner, and that's what makes you do it again, right? Drugs are bad, but people do it because it makes them feel good at some point, right? They know what it feels like. They want it. So you don't do something that's bad unless you have some muscle memory that, hey, it worked that time. It turned this big loser into a nice winner. I don't think I'm speaking to many people when I talk about, in this group, when I talk about adding the losers, because I really feel most don't have a problem doing it. But you don't have to have a problem doing it to do it once in a while. And in periods of this kind of market, you get killed and you put a big, it reminds me of a story when I was 23 years old. I was going down to the, in an elevator to the parking garage because I got a ride home from one of the members and traders, and we rode the elevator down with two other traders. And the other trader was he was really great. And he said they had a big giant influx of volatility into the close that afternoon. And he was talking about a couple traders that were, he says, these guys are just looking to make $1,000 a day and they're fine and they're doing it. And today they got a giant hole in their account because they couldn't get out of a couple losing trades they added to it. And I didn't know the exact scenario, but I know he was an experienced trader. And the guys that were just they were doing well, making grand a day, added up, bam, they got killed because they couldn't get out of one trade in one scenario of volatility. And that just always stuck with me. The big hole in your account's what stuck in me. I remember him showing it. Then you got a big hole. So how do you avoid the big hole in your account? You can't have any one trade be important. You got to know where you're going to get out before you get in, especially when it's faster, so you could react and not think. So in order to not think, and I'll put a T with one of these around it, and in order to react, you have to put yourself into a position what you're going to do when it comes time to react. You know what you're going to do when the guy in front of you hits his brakes, hopefully, and you react. You know what to do if you're a 7-year-old and the ball gets hit to you and you run and touch third because the coach 30 seconds ago told you what to do. So you thought about it, now you're just reacting to it. As you're thinking about it, you'll either drop the ball or run around, or you'll be late if you're a 7 or 8-year-old. And don't diminish or dismiss that example, because we always go back to thinking like a kid sometimes, for good reasons and bad reasons. Now, that doesn't mean you can't think. This is when you're thinking. And you're absorbing what I'm talking about, when you're absorbing all the other content that is so thick in the Edge course that I'm reorganizing for everyone to make it like a new you guys are going to feel like there's a new program that I've unveiled. A lot of the same stuff, but organized in a way you're going to like shortly. And I want you guys to be, you're going to get an email where access is going to be on a different website. And I'll talk about that. Well, you'll see it in an email. I don't know, maybe a few days, maybe within a week, but shortly. Be a better website. The website will be a little skeleton-like till I fill it in, but access and the mechanics of it will be there, and the navigation through the Edge content and all of it will be there, but it'll be organized better, indexed better, and everyone's grandfathered in to it, which you're net going to like it better. So I bring this up because that's where you do your thinking when you go through that. What also I think you're going to like about the new site, the new navigation, is that if you need to bone up on order flow, boom, you'll know where to go. You know, how to trade economic numbers, bam, you'll know where to go with the videos in there. You want to listen to some people that, and I know I indexed the existing site that way, but this one's done where you could check off what you've watched, kind of keep track of where you left off and stuff. But keep an eye out for that email. Won't change anything other than where you go every morning. You'll end up liking it more. But that's where you do your thinking, right? You do your thinking in here. You do your thinking when you're watching those videos, when you're reading a book, and when you're talking to each other or reviewing. If you guys are not reviewing the R word, reaction and review, then how are you gonna get better? And you know listen, people in here know who reviews and who doesn't, right? You know if you're working out every day. You don't have to BS anyone. Do you know, are you breaking a sweat 15, 20 minutes a day, 6 days a week? You know if you are or not. Are you eating good? You know the truth. And the same goes to proper review. You don't have to kill yourself. You don't have to review for 2 hours a day and go to the gym and shower and all that stuff. You just got to look in some structured way as to how could I avoided that mistake? How did I miss that? I'm glad I missed that. It's not just to criticize yourself. Review is to also genuinely pat yourself on the back, not because it's the mind always wants us to pat ourselves on the back, but genuinely pat yourself on the back. And I'm telling you, that's where this verbal journal is going to be helpful and more people are going to use it. It only works on Sierra and NinjaTrader. I'm going to talk more about it in the weeks to come. And I'm going to show it more in the room and how I'm using it. But that's how you review, or one way to review efficiently. And if you don't know about it, you'll know about it within a couple weeks. Don't go off trying to look at it too much now. But it's a way to go over, was I thinking or was I reacting? And it's just a simple press a button and start talking, close it, and you got a nice recording of the inflection of your voice, what you said, where you said it, and everything else. Everybody will like it. Everybody will use it. Doesn't work on these charts, but it works on Sierra and Ninja for now. Going back to the topic of today, which I didn't want to go on too long because it's busy today. And I treat these meetings like as if we all worked in the same office, right? 11 Central, we all meet, and I visualize a conference room, and we all get in there, file in, sit down, put your cell phones away, and we start talking and thinking. And then I tell everybody, hey, you know what? It's busy. You want to get back to your workstation, whatever. And that's the way I kind of run these meetings. But going back to this really quick, the one trade concept. The Blackhawks, which is the NHL pro hockey team in Chicago, they have a phrase that's pretty cool. They've had it for a while now. One goal, and obviously it takes in goal is the name of a score, and then one goal is also some level of achievement. That's always their tagline going into the playoffs. One goal. They distill it down, and I think it's not just a marketing phrase for fans, It's for their players. One goal. And that's what I want you to think about with trading. One trade. But the one trade that isn't going to make your week or month, be ready to catch that and react to that. But the one trade to stay away from that is too important because it put a big hole in your account. And when it's volatile, one trade could mean a lot. Don't let it mean a lot to the negative side. Don't let one trade mean too much. And don't add to trades, especially, well, never, but especially when they're moving like this. You have to know you're wrong kind of before you're even got your opinion out there. So don't let one trade put a big hole in your account, especially in volatile sessions. Learn to react diligently and stay away from thinking too much, and understand that if a career is thousands and thousands of trades, why would anyone be that important anyways? It's not. It's not. They're not. Let it go. Now let's go real quick to a chart. And we went from bearish to bullish since I was talking, right? And we rallied quite a bit from the 02, 03 area. That's where it was when I went to that white screen. Now, is it me, or could you logically, without saying it's hindsight, say in here that the bulls were taken back over, right? And if you were short below in here, that one trade of being short didn't have to last and put you still in the position when it was trading up in here. You knew where you were going to get out before you get in. That's what these edge zones now do to you or for you. So, okay, maybe you don't predict this big rally, but you are bullish before the big rally. And I want you to remember this. I wrote it down. Get yourself, I got to find it. Put yourself in a position that you were bullish when it rallied. You don't have to be long, but you see this big rally here? Could you put yourself in a position based on the skills you have that you were at least bullish before it? Oh, that's not a color. So maybe you didn't predict the rally, but you were bullish before it rallied. So what you do, guys, is you get away from having it rally and being bearish, because then that sucks. If it rallies a lot and when you're bearish, that means you got to fix something. Does that make sense? But if it rallies and at least you were bullish, that's a great start. Does that make sense? You got to document that. I'm bullish and then it rallied. Good. That's a good place to be. But then you just go and you say, is there any reason in here to be bearish? No. Bulls still have the leash. Any reason in here? No, I don't see anything. Rallies, rallies, rallies. Nothing even in here to say it's going to be bearish, to be honest with you. Unless there was some greens that flashed in real time. I don't know. There's nothing in here that would get me bearish except price, right? So then you got to be a little bearish. Now all of a sudden, I get a little bullish when I see this red get breached. And it's no coincidence that the market went sideways to bullish. So you're not surprised of the rally. It started when you breached a red edge zone. I'm hoping all these zones are real powerful for you to see when they get taken out, when they flash and they can't get it to go up or down. There's some other great things I'm working on. With different variations to these edge zones. So I want to cut it there. I was coming out of the trading room. I said we could close at 35. And I was not thinking that the whole way down 10 points lower to 02, 04 where we went. But here we are back to the scene of the crime. Just because you're bullish doesn't mean you could buy it. Life is good. Take 10 handles of heat before you take a 20 handle winner. You still got to trade. But trading, if you know what you're doing, is reacting to what you've already thought about and what you've already learned. Anybody got questions? If not, I'm going to cut the recording and let you guys get back to trading. But like I say, at the end of the trading room, you got to manage your risk before you take it. That's another way of saying know where you're getting out before you get in, which is another way of saying trades are stupid. Don't fall in love with them. We'll see you guys either tomorrow or next week. Here's a good question by the Mountain Man, Mark. Do I ever try keeping, or do you ever try the same idea too many times? Absolutely. And I'm sure everybody would say yes. And I could document it back to when I have, for whatever reason, a pretty certain opinion that the day is going to be bullish before it's day. But that's for me. Some other people might just be overly stubborn. I don't have a scientific way to cut it off, but try to 3 trades in that direction. And if the fourth one ends up working, so be it. You can't get mad. But you have to have some logical stop. I'll tell you guys a quick story of a guy that would have a problem with this one trade concept because he would make money, be up a bunch of money, and one trade would give it all back. And I said to him, well, what if you had just a line to say you're not going to lose any more than X amount of dollars, okay, in a particular trade? Because I asked him, if a trade goes 6 points against you, generally does it come back to be a winner? He says, no, once it's 6 points against me, it's gone. And I said, then you let it to be a 10, 20 point winner? Yeah. And I said, well, if you got your level, and I don't know if it was 6 points, but let's say it's 6 points for example's sake, then that's your hard stop. You never take a trade that's going to be a bigger than 6 handle loser. So I don't know what your average loser will be, but your biggest loser will never be over 6 points. And he couldn't do it. And it's like, well, I can't help you then. He couldn't do it. And there was just a stubbornness that he had in getting out of a trade. Now, it's different if it goes 6 points against you, and sometimes it's the big winners that you have. Well, then you don't know what your cutoff should be. But when you know it's 6 points against you, it never comes back, and that's when you get yourself in trouble, then you have your hard stop. And then if you can't implement that, then you got to get some help in between the ears because you're stubborn. Good question, Mark. We'll see you guys next week or tomorrow.